Clouds passed over the bright blue sky, the kind where you think of happy times to spend with your friends and family, the kind where nothing could go wrong. For one person in particular, that wasn't really the case. And if you were to see the scene in person that he was in, you probably wouldn't think so too. A boy no older than 4, with messy dark green hair, freckles that shaped like diamonds on both his cheeks, and wearing a simple light blue shirt, green shorts, and crimson red shoes. A sweet, innocent-looking kid, but with a face of fear and tears in his eyes and whimpering. What was he so scared of? A small group of 3 kids and their Pokemon. One a pudgy kid with crimson wings on his back and a Spearow flying beside him. Another with a toothy, sinister smile with a purple cap and super long, extending fingers and a Tangela next to him. And the final one, the leader of this group. A crimson-eyed, spiky, ash-blonde-haired boy whose hands popped with tiny explosions alongside a Cyndaquil whose flames sparked out ready to strike. The reason he stood before them. Behind him was another kid, crying and bruised, holding his heavily injured Rattata. The 3 kids were hurting him. They hurt his Rattata. And the boy couldn't stand by and watch it happen and do nothing. "Why are you being so mean?" the boy said, fear and innocence in his voice. "You are making him cry, Kaken. You hurt his Rattata too far." The boy crouched down slightly and raised his fists. "If you keep on hurting them, I'll stop you myself." The 3 kids looked at the boy in silence. But a second later, their smiles returned with sinister amusement. The kid with the ash-blonde hair, Kaken as he was called, smirked and said, "You want to pretend to be a hero?" He slammed his right fist into his left palm and tiny, yet threatening explosion occurring that puffed out sparks of fire and smoke. Kaken's Cyndaquil took note and crouched down, its flames rising threateningly too. "You don't stand a chance without a quirk and such a weak Pokemon," Kaken said. He looked at the boy with eyes closed yet let out a smile that drove pure fear into the boy's heart. He said one more word, a word that to the boy felt like he was being branded. "Deku." The boy called Deku stepped back in fear. But as he felt like he was going to run away, the boy felt a head of fur touch his leg. The boy looked down to find his own Pokemon, standing beside him and rubbing his head on his leg in a comforting nudge. The Pokemon was small, covered in brown fur, with a large collar of light brown fur, stood on 4 small legs, had large brown ears, and had a large busy brown tail with a patch of light brown fur, in the shape of an arrow, on the tip of its tail. The Pokemon was known as an EV. More importantly, it was the boy's EV. The Pokemon nudged his leg and despite the fear evident in his eyes, Eve gave him a bright smile and a fire in its eyes that drowned the fear. Deku was still in shock but smiled as well. His eyes shone again with strength through the tears and raised his fists again in defense, fueled by his Pokemon's encouragement. As the bullies and their Pokemon rushed towards the duo, Deku and Eevee stood tall and ready. A short while later, the 3 bullies and their Pokemon were gone. The injured boy and his Rattata knelt down and cried. And the boy called Deku and his Eevee side by side were on the floor, covered in bruises and scorch marks. The boy looked towards his Eevee, his partner, his fur tattered and scorched, its eyes closed and groaning in pain. His eyes filled with tears once again at what he believed was his fault. He fought knowing he would be beaten. He knew he directed the boy's attacks on him and away from the kid and his Rattata, but at what cost? He fought knowing Eevee would be hurt, yet he and Eevee still did it. The boy turned his tired eyes to the sky above, the sun shining bright, the clouds rolling by and a swarm of Pidgeys flying high above. The view made him more tired and more sad. Before he could rest his eyes and fall into unconsciousness, the boy thought to himself, asked to himself the question he always asked since that faithful day. Is he alright? Am I just pretending? Am I really so useless? Can I be a hero too? Izuku POV. That was me. I'm Izuku Midoriya and I learned something that day. A sad and hard truth. All men are not created equal. All men are not treated equal either. I learned that some people have more power than others. Let me tell you why. Let me tell you my story. My journey. The world I live in is a weird one. Weird but amazing. Ever since mankind had walked the earth, ever since we grew as a species, populated the planet, traveled the land, sea, and skies, and built civilizations, we weren't alone. We were joined into this world by the wondrous creatures that we called Pokemon. They come in many shapes, sizes, and, what mankind took most notice of, power. They could perform feats unlike anything man could do. Some could fly high into skies, some could breathe fire and control the elements. Some possess strength enough to smash a boulder into pieces. Some are even revered as deities and forces of nature and power. But what made them truly special, and what made us special too, was the bond that we shared with them. As long as mankind has lived, mankind and Pokemon have stood side by side, using their talents and skills to grow smarter, stronger, and more amazing. We play with them, we study them, we capture them, and fight other Pokemon from other trainers for sport and competition. It looks better than it sounds. Many of these Pokemon relate to each other through not just looks, but also their power and types. Over 18 different classifying types. Fire, water, nature, lightning, and on and on. Each Pokemon had 1 or 2 typings, and some could even gain and change them over time. Pokemon could also change in appearance and species as they grow stronger through evolution. Some could also change by other means like friendship or special stones. Each species, size, and shape of Pokemon was as unique as the snowflakes of a snowy winter day. But not all are treated equally as well. Some are viewed as powerful, important, special. Some are overlooked and deemed useless. A sentiment that I can relate. A sentiment that many in fact share after the appearance of Quirks. The first incident was in Quick, China. An extraordinary child was born who radiated light, like an ampharos. After that, reports of people with superpowers popped up across the globe. No one knew what was causing these strange phenomena. Chaos spread, society started to collapse, and the line that separated humans and Pokemon became thinner and blurred. But as time went on and these superpower individuals became more common, our world changed and went through its own evolution. These superpowers became known as quirks, and many to this day are still researching quirks and their origins. Many took note that these quirks resembled the types of Pokemon and began classifying quirks in types like Pokemon. And whilst quirks became the norm, Pokemon continued as always as an integral part of life. The supernatural became normal. Dreams a reality. Our mysterious, wondrous world became a greater superhuman society with about 80% of the population possessing some uncanny ability. But just like most things of our world, there are always those who use their gifts and talents in their own self-interest. For one reason or another, some superhuman individuals used their quirks for dark and malicious reasons. These villains used their quirks and Pokemon for terrible misdeeds, and law enforcement, even with their own Pokemon, struggled against their power. But as darkness always rises, the light rises to drive it back. As cities swirled with chaos and confusion, others took a stand and fought against these villains in the service and protection of others. A new profession dominated our collective consciousness. It was a golden age of heroes. These defenders of the peace and people worked to protect civilians from disasters, both man-made and natural. Our streets looked like scenes from comic books. They worked tirelessly to defend those who couldn't help themselves. Whilst governments around the globe struggled to rework laws with quirks in mind, and criminal activity rising with villains who abused their powers for evil, these courageous people performed acts of heroism to keep our city safe. And with the aid of their Pokemon and overwhelming public support, they found a place in our new society. Those who were more popular and did the best were paid the most and got all the fame and glory, whilst others weren't and struggled against matters of popularity and effectiveness. But despite all their shortcomings and issues, what was important was their mission, their duty, to protect those who can't protect themselves. They were seen as our greatest champions of peace and hope. And that was what I wanted to be. No matter what. 10 years later. Now I'm 14 years old, and today I was having quite possibly the worst day of my life. Today was just like any other day. On my way to school, I witnessed a villain with some kind of gigantification quirk, along with an abnormally large Gyarados, tearing apart a subway route after stealing a purse and getting caught. during which nearby heroes came to the rescue, like Death Arms and Backdraft. New up-and-coming heroes like Kumui Woods and Lady also made their debut and apprehended the criminal. I, of course, wrote all of what I saw of their quirks, Pokemon, and potential on my hero journal, my 13th one. A nice old man there on the scene, with these star-shaped protrusions coming out of his head, called me out for being a fanboy and asked if I wanted to be a hero. I smiled and said yes, and he cheered me on to continue my dreams. I would have been more touched, but I knew it was just the nice words of a random old man. A random old man who didn't know who I was and didn't know anything about me or my quirk, or lack thereof. Afterwards, whatever joy I had that day turned to ash by the reality of another school day of Aldera Junior High, and what I have come to expect every day now. Today, our teacher talked to us about our future endeavors and career paths, like a police officer or a Pokemon professor or researcher, but he, along with everyone else, knew that everybody wanted to become heroes. Even if most of their quirks weren't anything that could be seen as useful or flashy. I mean, as optimistic as I am, what kind of hero would be effective if their quirk was something like having a super long neck or nose? Then again, I don't exactly have anything to say for that matter. That is when my childhood friend / 10-year-long bully, Katsuki Bakugo, or as I call him Kaken, made a pompous show of himself, proclaiming that he was better than everyone else, that he would get into UA High, the best hero school in the country, some even say the world, and that he would be more popular than All Might himself. He claimed, and I quote, that he would be the richest and most popular hero of all time. Internally, I frowned at Kaken's choice of words. Heroes shouldn't be about fame or money, idiot. Thought. Why can't you see past that ego of yours for once? Then my teacher decided to end Kaken's little show by making my day turn to hell. He outed that I wanted to go to UA too. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't stop the others from laughing at me. Especially Kaken, who exploded my desk and told me all I was a quirkless wannabe. Useless. Defenseless. Deku. What he did after class was the final straw. What made me realize that the best friend I had when I was 4 died. Killed by his own ego. He destroyed my hero journal, all my hard work, and tossed it out the window like garbage. And finally said, "Hey, if you really want to be a hero so badly, there might be a way. Just pray that you will be born lucky in your next life. And take a swan dive of the roof of the building." Those words echoed in my head as I looked out the window he threw my journal. Echoed in my head as I went out to grab my notebook, now turned into Magikarp food. My mind reeled back to all the words he called me, all the abuse and torment, all the pain he put me through, all the pain the universe itself brought onto me from the moment I was born. Useless Izuku. You can't do anything right. You are nothing but a worthless cater pie. Just a bug that always gets in my way. Worthless Deku. Sorry kid, it's not gonna happen. I'm sorry Izuku. Take a swan dive off the roof of the building. My mind kept replaying the words and events over and over again. Right at the moment I stood on the school rooftop. I looked down below and wondered if he was right. He was always right. That's what my life has seemingly said. From the day he got his quirk to the day I found out I had no quirk, that I was quirkless. Remember when I said that 80% of the population have quirks? I'm one of the unlucky few that land in the 20% of people who don't. Have no quirk. Quirkless. A simple 9-letter word that, to me, was the same as saying useless. I looked at the ground below me, and as I planted my foot on the railing, 2 voices behind me called out to me. "EV! Pika Pie!" A yell. I looked behind me to find my lifelong partner and companion, and my semi-companion right next to me, and looking me with those dark brown and black eyes that oozed happiness and comfort. I remember having EV ever since I could remember. I remember me and EV replaying hero fantasies with me, and EV wielding large, courageous smiles. Remember those times where Katsuki and I would play around in the forest and park, playing heroes and fighting bad guys side by side as partners, or as Katsuki would view me as a sidekick. I would chuckle at EV playing around with Kaken's Cyndaquil. Then as Katsuki got his quirk and I got nothing, things changed. Katsuki viewed me as useless and worthless before I got my quirk. Now he saw me as having as much worth as a Magikarp that can't evolve. Our play dates turned to beat-down sessions as he would use me and Evie for target practice for both him and Cyndaquil. Made me out to be the villain of his story. It got worse when I said I was going to be a hero, regardless of having no quirk. And even worse when Cyndaquil evolved into Kalava and Evie never did. But I didn't want Evie to evolve. Not unless he wanted to, and I knew he never did, and I didn't either. Katsuki unleashed enough explosions onto me that I had to hide my shoulders and chest from my mom for days when I told him that. For 10 years, Katsuki Bakugu bullied me over and over and over again. All the while calling me a worthless piece of grubbish trash. A useless cater pie. Gave me the name Deku, which in the proper kanji translated to useless, worthless. Someone that can't do anything. For a time I believed him. It wasn't hard to believe. When your best friend proclaims you are useless, bullies and beats you up for 10 years straight. When no fellow kid or teacher helps or calls Bakugu out and even your own mother doesn't believe you can be a hero. It was enough to drive someone off the edge. V, however, was different. He was always there, smiling and comforting me when things got bad, always cheered me up and remembered to smile through the pain, to always smile no matter how hard things get, just like my all-time favorite hero and idol. All Might, the #1 hero, the symbol of peace, and a hero that saves everyone with a smile on his face. But as much as All Might was my idol and pillar of support for my dream, Eevee was the one that was always there, always in my life. Well, him and Pikachu. Pikachu was another constant companion of mine, but he wasn't technically, well, mine. I'm pretty sure Pikachu wasn't anybody's Pokemon, a wild Pokemon. Pikachu was also different from all the others that I had ever seen. He had a ruffle of fur on his ear that seemed unique and, as I have seen many times, was faster and more powerful than any Pikachu I had ever seen. I remembered fondly one day where me and Eevee were trapped in the woods by a big storm and were attacked by a flock of wild Spearows. Then Pikachu came out of nowhere and unleashed the biggest blast of lightning I had ever seen, and scattered the Pokemon away. Ever since, he has been my unofficial second Pokemon, and the first Pokemon I will try to catch when I'm of the legal age, to catch wild Pokemon of 15. Katsuki didn't like that either. Thought that worthless Deku shouldn't have such a powerful Pokemon and tried catching it himself with a Pokeball, something that he shouldn't have had at that age. It always rejected and fled from him, and anybody else who tried, which in turn made Katsuki release his rage onto the closest thing he could find. My gut. Even when other kids used their own fast Pokemon or speed-boosting quirks, it always ran too fast. I was the only one that ever managed to get close and play with it, which in turn made others jealous and joined Bakuga's Bully Deku Club. Regardless, Pikachu became fast friends with me and Eevee. But as time moved on, I always found myself curious about Pikachu's tail. More specifically, a weird mark, barely visible and covered in fur. But I soon gave up trying to find out what it was, both because Pikachu refused to show me and would always zap me when I tried. I didn't mind the shocks and saw them as playful punches, something that I knew Pikachu appreciated. I looked at the two and smiled, the dark thoughts and words fading away. I knelt down to them and said, "Thanks guys, for always being there when I needed it. Even if I'm just a worthless kid who can't do anything." Pikachu responded to that with a tiny thunderbolt. I laid there on the ground and twitched at the electricity flowing through my body. "I guess I deserved that," said. Eevee rubbed my head with his own and Pikachu let out playful tiny jabs at my sides that tickled. "What would I do without you guys?" said. After that, me and the two Pokemon decided to head out back to my home, maybe dust off or hide the scorch marks on my shoulder where Katsuki threatened me with his quirk. As much as I wanted to say something about Katsuki's behavior, I knew it would be pointless. From an early age, Katsuki was praised for his powerful quirk, Explosion, and said that he was going to be a great hero. I knew that if I said anything to anyone, it would just be seen as the petty, bitter words of a jealous, quirkless loser trying to ruin his chances. I knew that if I told the school, they either do nothing, report nothing, ignore me, and or find a way to get me written up. If I told my mom about it, she would only worry, and she has enough to worry about. Or maybe the reason I never called him out was because I didn't want to lose him. Crazy. Insane. Probably. But I always held on to this hope that he would feel remorse, that he would turn back into my best friend again, my symbol of victory. But after that last comment, I knew that it was all pointless. I also realized that all the times Bakugo used his quirk on me, where they would leave possible scorch marks and burns, were always in places I could hide. Anything else like a punch to the face could be chalked up to self-made injuries or accidents. I realized that his attacks weren't just reckless aggression. They were calculated, intended. What's the point in being friends with someone like that? That idiot thought. You can't tell people to kill themselves. What if I actually jumped? What would he do then? Stupid jerk. We walked around until we arrived at an underpass tunnel. I stopped and remembered back to that fateful day and the promise I made to myself. No, don't get distracted by him. You have spent your whole life following his shadow and got nothing but pain and trauma. I won't let him win by giving up or listening to him. I don't care what anyone says. Eevee and Pikachu believe in me, and that is all I need. I will become a hero. The kind that saves people and Pokemon with a smile on his face. Just like him. I looked to the sky before I entered the tunnel and shouted, I won't give up. I'll become a hero. And with the two of you by my side, we will save others. EVV. P.I. Pikachu. The two cried out, Eevee jumping up and down and smiling brightly and Pikachu raising his paw high. I tried to imitate All Might's laugh, bringing my spirits high, until I felt a cold shiver down my spine at the sounds of a weird sloshing sound behind me. Fearfully, I turned around slowly and became paralyzed with fear. Standing before me was a mass of purple and green sludge, large enough that it blocked out the light of the tunnel I came from. I would have thought it was a mook if not for the crazed, wide yellow eyes and a sinister wide smile on his face filled with razor-sharp teeth. This wasn't a mook or any Pokemon. It was a villain. I shouted in fear and panic. The sludge villain looked at me with his crazed eyes, his sinister smile growing wider and more malevolent. He looked at me like I was some kind of prize that he won. I could tell that Pikachu and Eevee took a fighting stance, but I was too frozen in fear that I couldn't move. Then the sludge villain spoke, saying, Hey kid, you'll make a perfect skin suit for me to hide in. A second later, he flew straight at me like a bullet. I tried to run away, but before I could even take a step, the mass of dark sludge crashed onto me and surrounded me. I heard Pikachu and Eevee cry out in pain as they were knocked back to sides of the tunnel. I tried to cry out for help, but that proved to be a mistake. The sludge villain jammed a tentacle of sludge into my mouth, shutting me up. I tried to yell out more for help, but it came out in useless muffles. I struggled and kicked, trying to break free. The sludge villain spoke. Don't worry, I'm just taking over your body. It'll be easier for both of us if you don't fight back. It'll only hurt for a minute. You'll feel better soon. I can't breathe, I thought fearfully. I tried to grab him and pull him off, but my fingers just passed through him. The sludge villain said, Grab all you want. My entire body is made of fluid. I continued to struggle and looked frantically for Eevee and Pikachu. Out of the corner of my eyes I saw Pikachu and Eevee looking at me scared and then angry with frustration in their eyes. I knew Pikachu was more frustrated because he couldn't zap the villain off without hurting me too. Pikachu then rushed forward, a trail of white tail following him. He was using quick attack. He jumped into the air and his tail glowed with a metal sheen, as evident of using iron tail. Pikachu's tail flew past the villain's fluid body. The sludge villain shot out hands made of sludge and grabbed Pikachu. He then hurled and smashed Pikachu against the walls of the tunnel repeatedly and finally onto the ground in front of me. Pikachu looked heavily bruised and looked ready to faint at the number of hard hits. I tried calling out Pikachu's name, but it too was muffled. I then heard Eevee's cries and saw him charging as well. No Eevee Don T. I tried to say through my muffled mouth. Eevee leaped into the air while the sludge villain was distracted and, with its tail glowing with the move Slam, struck the villain in the eye. The sludge villain howled in pain and momentarily was distracted. Eevee tried to pull me out of him afterwards, but was instead struck by the sludge villain's wildly flailing hand. heavy crash onto the wall of the tunnel and slumped there, its eyes heavy and in pain. The sludge villain said, "God damn it. Cheap shot, you little shit." No matter. I got to hurry. I didn't know that he was in the city. I got to get out of here fast before he tracks me down. But maybe before I leave, I can use your own body to strangle your dear little Pokemon. I continued to struggle, but soon my limbs became more weak. My struggling slowed, and my eyes got heavier. Body getting weak. Thought. I think I'm dying. The sludge villain looked to me as he continued to take over me. He said, "Thanks for the help. You're a real hero to me, kid." No way. I thought as I tearfully looked at my charred hero journal opened. This can't be the end. I looked at my design for my hero costume, the smiling hero I wanted to be. My vision became blurred and my eyes started to droop. Somebody, help. As I closed my eyes, the last of my will to survive fading, I heard the sounds a sewer grate fly open, a hard thud, the villain gasp in shock and fear, and a deep voice call out, "Have no fear. You are safe. Now that I am here." My eyes opened slightly, the voice giving me the will to fight further. I struggled again as the sludge villain attacked the owner of the voice. I heard a crash of rubble, the sound of a foot sliding on the ground, and a massive gust of wind blast around me. Texas smash. The gust of wind enveloped around me as the sludge villain blew apart into pieces. Felt free. Could breathe again. My eyes, heavy and tired, focused on my rescuer. I saw a shining light. A large man with 2 large hair strands pointed, a godly muscled physique, and a brightening large smile on his face. As everything went dark, I thought aloud. "Is that, me dash." I awoke to the sensation of someone lightly clapping my left cheek, and the feeling of a familiar furry head and paw nuzzle and tap me. I heard the deep voice speak again, "Hey. Wake up. Hey." As my eyes opened to the bright sky above, Eevee and Pikachu cried out in glee and began hugging me. I chuckled, my voice raspy, before coughing and breathing heavily. My vision cleared as I saw Eevee and Pikachu smiling with tiny tears in their eyes. I smiled warmly at them and gave them a look of reassurance. "Thought we lost you there." The voice spoke again. I turned my head towards its owner and the whole world seemed to freeze. It was him. Standing there, slightly bowed, was the greatest hero the world had ever seen. The world's symbol of peace. My hero. All Might. All Might was just as he looked like my figurines and posters, minus the hero outfit. He had golden blonde hair, most slicked back with 2 tufts of hair sticking up. His face and body chiseled like a marble statue, dark shadows covering his eyes. His clothes consisted of a plain white shirt that strained against his muscles and a pair dark moss green pants, and wore a big smile on his face. I gaped and probably looked like an idiot. But who wouldn't if they were face to face with the greatest hero in the world and idol who saved them? I yelped loudly and crawled back a few feet away. All Might, always smiling, said, "Well, looks like you're moving around all right." He raised his right hand with palm out and continued, "Sorry about that back there. Didn't mean for you to get caught up in my justicing. Usually I pay more attention to keeping bystanders safe, but it turns out that this city's sewer system is pretty difficult to navigate." "Ha ha ha." I stuttered, blushing slightly, and gaped at the sight of my idol, barely paying attention to what he was saying. I could hear Pikachu snickering beside me and Eevee trying hard not to do the same but was cracking. All Might continued saying, "Anyway, you were a big help. Thank you. Thanks to you distracting the him, I've captured the evil do." All Might posed and held out 2 large Torrent soda bottles, his left arm out forward. In the bottles there were the same purple and dark green sludge of the sludge villain. I could even see the villain's yellow eyeballs in the left bottle, his eyes having an X on them, meaning he was knocked out. But that wasn't what I was paying attention. The most amazing hero of the entire world. Thought. All Might. The real thing. In the flesh. Right in front of me. He looks so much cooler in person. I snapped out of my fanboy stupor and realized something I had to do. Holy crap! I have to get an autograph. I know I have a pen around here somewhere. I tapped all around me looking for a pen. I whipped my head to my notebook laying on the ground next to us. I rushed to grab it like a missile and shouted, "Please sign my notebook." I opened it to find his signature already in it. "Aowug!" I screamed. He already did. I stood up straight and bowed to him repeatedly that I looked like a green blur. "Ha! Thank you so much. These will be familiarlum. A fam litria surpassed down trough generations. Also thank you for saving Jim Kitch as well." I mumblingly yelled out, "V Pikachu," and All Might sweat dropped at my antics, but All Might kindly gave me a thumbs up. All Might said, "You're welcome. I also healed up your Pokemon using some spare potions I had. Don't trouble yourself with paying me back. Consider it as my apology for putting the three of you in danger. Plus I couldn't let these two little bundles of fur and cuteness all hurt and full of boo-boos." Me and said two bundles of fur deadpanned at just hearing the #1 pro hero and symbol of peace talk like a mother would talk to a baby. He then put the bottles full of the knocked-out sludge villain in his pant pockets and said, "Welp, I got to get this guy to the police so they can take care of him." He turned from me, looked back and gave me a friendly hand wave. "Stay out of trouble. See you around." I froze momentarily and asked, "Wait, you're leaving already?" All Might crouched down and bent his knees up and down, stretching his legs. He said in response, "Pro heroes are constantly fighting time, as well as enemies." I froze and my nervous smile dropped into a disappointed frown. "He can't leave yet," I thought as he continued stretching. "There are still so many questions I want to ask him. One question in particular." He crouched down low and said, "Now stand back. I'm taking off." A second later, All Might jumped high into the air like a rocket. "Thanks for your continued support." He left, but not without something tagging along. Or rather someone. "Huh." All Might looked down and despite his constant smiling face, looked shocked and asked, "Wait, what are you doing?" That someone tagging along was me. As All Might seemed to soar through the air, I clung to his leg, screaming my already injured lungs off, the wind pushing back my face. And I could tell that Eevee and Pikachu also clung onto me, the two crying out and shaking as the wind blew past their fur. All Might wiggled around and tried pulling me off of him, oblivious of our mid-flight surroundings. He yelled out, "Hey, let go. I love my fans, but this is too much. Too much being having them wrap around me like an Ekans." I yelled out, both in fear of falling and to yell through the roaring winds. In response, "Away. We're flying. If I let go now I'll die." All Might immediately ceased his struggling and blankly said, "Oh, that's a good point." I yelled out again, "I just have a lot of things to ask you personally. You are my all-time favorite hero. Please, please." Okay. All Might yelled back, "I get it. Just keep your eyes and mouth shut and don't let go. Same goes for you two little balls of sunshine." I would have facepalmed at that last comment if I wasn't scared of me and the two balls of sunshine falling to our deaths. I closed my eyes and mouth and hanged on to dear life. As we sailed through the air and the roar of the wind blew through my ears, I could faintly hear All Might coughing loudly. We landed on the roof of a building in downtown. I shook like I was attacked by an ice type using Blizzard, my hair standing on ends and a blank look in my eyes. "I saw my life flash before my eyes," I said, trembling. I looked to see Eevee and Pikachu also shaking like a pair of scared Vimpods, their hairs standing up and the same look of blank terror in their eyes. All Might stood straight and said, "Not a very good move, especially in putting your Pokemon in danger as well. Very irresponsible." He sighed and said, "Bang on the door and someone will let you in. Now I have to go. See you on the flip side." In realization of his words, I shook my head, fixed my hair and yelled, "Wait, not yet. 1 second." All Might yelled back with irritation in his voice, "I don't have any time." I yelled out loud with all I had, "I have to know. The memories came rushing onto me again. Sorry kid, it's not going to happen. I'm sorry Izuku. I wish things were different. Defenseless Izuku. The school is already crepey. Do you really want to embarrass it by failing so hard? I looked to the ground before me. The faces of my mother crying. Katsuki attacking me. The ground below the rooftop. Eevee and Pikachu with smiles on their faces. Pikachu saving me and Eevee with bruises still looking at me with a pained smile. Sometimes I do feel like a failure. Thought that there is no hope for me. That all my dreams were just that, dreams. That I'm not worthy to have Pikachu as a friend. Or Eevee as a partner. But even so, I'm not going to give up. Ever. I gathered up all my courage, all the pain, suffering, trauma, and feeling my heart. I gathered it all up and asked, is it possible to become a hero even if I don't have a quirk? All Might stopped in his tracks. I pushed forward, venting all the pain out, desperate for an answer. Desperate for what the truth I wanted to hear. The truth I wanted him, of all people, to say. I'm a normal kid without any powers. All I have is Eevee and Pikachu. Everyone told me it's impossible, but I have to know. I have to know from you. Can I ever hope to be someone like you? Can I be a hero too?